Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another weekend workshop. We're so glad that you joined us today. My name is Carrie Ramsey, and I'm the project manager for the Weekend Project, which is led by Queen's University and funded by FedDev Ontario through the Women Entrepreneurship Strategy Ecosystem Fund. It's so awesome to have everyone with us today. I'm sure there's many new faces in the group, and some of you are feeling like it's your first time and which way is up. Welcome to you. It's okay if this is your first time with us. If my eyes are darting, by the way, I'm just letting more folks in from the waiting room. We're expecting a big group today because Jennifer Baker is here. And every time Jennifer Baker speaks, the people listen because Jennifer has some great stuff to share with you today. So I'm so grateful, Jennifer, that you're here as well. And everyone who's joined us today, thank you so much for making the time in your schedule to be a part of today's workshop. As we're getting started, and as I continue to let folks in from the waiting room, please do take a moment. As you can see, folks are already sharing in the chat where they're from geographically as well. Let us know what your business is. So if you want to drop a website link, if you want to drop an Instagram link, a LinkedIn profile, whatever you'd like, let us know where you're connecting from and what your business is so that we can make this a networking opportunity as well. As you're taking a moment to do that in the Zoom chat or checking out who else is here, I will acknowledge that I am connecting to this workshop from the Bay of Quinte region, which is the traditional First Nations territory of the Huron, the Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. And earlier this week, I was listening to a podcast, and the presenter was an Indigenous woman. She was talking about the talking stick. And I'm sure many of you have heard of the talking stick at some point before, but if you haven't, it's a First Nations tradition in not all the cultures because they're not homogeneous, of course, but in many of the First Nations cultures, where the talking stick would be used and in a gathering, a storytelling session, a potlatch, different types of events, and the person holding the talking stick is the one who commands the room, is the one who we respect and we listen to, and there's no interruptions. And as she was talking about the talking stick, I actually was thinking about how that amplifies people's voices, right? When everyone else is hushed a little bit, we can give our respect and our attention to that person in the room. And I think that, if I were to draw a parallel between that tradition and what we're trying to accomplish here in the Weekend Project, it's certainly to amplify the voices of women who might not always be heard, and to just give them a moment to speak and for us to listen, for us to learn. And you know what? There's a power that comes with that when we will just stop and pause in our day and listen to someone, whether it's in a workshop like this or frankly, whether it's in any aspect of our lives. So I was thinking about that talking stick this week and almost thinking about how I can pass that talking stick to someone else in my life to just really listen and amplify their voice so that I can understand where they're coming from and perhaps, gain a new, fresh perspective. So that was my thought this week as I was listening to that podcast. I hope that you'll take pause in your week as well this week to learn from someone else that perhaps you don't always take the time to listen to. So welcome everyone as you're joining us. I know there's a lot more that are in the waiting room. I'll get to them just shortly. As you're joining us, please do let us know where you're connecting from and a little bit about your business in the chat. Thank you so much for taking a moment to do that. Today's workshop is being recorded. So if you would like a copy of the workshop, I can send you a link to that later today. I just ask that you email me directly. I'm going to drop my email into the chat shortly, so you'll see that in a moment. That's the best way to get a copy of the workshop recording today. On another note, you'll see that we have enabled the auto transcription through Zoom. At the bottom of your screen, you may see that the words are appearing on your screen. If you would like to hide that because you don't find it helpful, then you can go to the live transcript button at the bottom of your screen and you can click on that. And I believe it gives you the option to hide those subtitles. But for others, I hope that helps you follow along with today's workshop. So I believe that those are the housekeeping items I wanted to mention today. What a treat it is to have you all here. And I know that we're going to learn about this very exciting and relevant topic about the power of email marketing in our businesses today. I would venture to say it has never been more important for us to build our email list and to communicate with the folks that are on it. So Jennifer, I'm going to going to pass it over to you and look forward to learning from you today.
Thank you, Carrie, and I'm so happy to be here. So if you've never attended one of my webinars before, I do love questions. So you will find, so just like Carrie said, take time to listen. I like to listen to your thoughts and your questions. So you'll find that throughout the webinar, I will pause, giving you time to collect your thoughts and ask your questions, be it in the chat or verbalizing it if you unmute your mic, if you prefer that. So I do love questions. I do love interaction. I only ask that you keep it on topic. So if we're talking about lists, let's talk about lists. If we're talking about analytics, let's talk about analytics. That's kind of my only housekeeping rule in terms of questions. And then I do have time at the end for general Q&A. So if you have something that's a little bit off topic, then we can save it until then. Okay. So my name is Jennifer Baker. I run a social media training and consulting business here in Kingston, Ontario. I have been running my business for 9 years now. And in the last year, it's kind of gone a little bit crazy with the number of webinars that I've been doing. So it's wonderful that I truly get to teach every single day. And I love that you're joining me today on this webinar about email marketing. So this has become a really big topic, as Carrie said, in the last year, because we've been almost forced, and many of us have been completely forced online, and it's how do we communicate now to our customers? So oftentimes I do talk specifically about social media, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but there's also email marketing, which is really important as well. So today we're going to be talking about the benefits of email marketing. We're going to be talking about contact lists. We're going to be talking about strategies and analytics. So I do like analytics. My background is economics, so I do like numbers and data, but I won't bore you too much with that, but I'll give you what you need to know about analytics regarding your email marketing. So basically we're going to talk about, so some people have already been mentioning their love or dislike with email marketing, which is fine. So this is what we're going to be learning today. Generally, what you need to know about email marketing in terms of getting started, your lists, and is your email marketing, does it make sense? So here's a question for you, and I really want to know, what newsletters do you subscribe to, and how many have you received today? So in your inbox, just generally, because I was watching them come in today, and I want to say I've probably received 5, if not 6 today. Melissa subscribes to none. Wow. But put it in the chat. How many are you subscribing to? What are their topics? Everyone's like opening their emails saying, I don't. Okay. Girl Boss Ingrid saying none. Paula saying health. One every day that I love, every weekday. Newsletter subscribing fool. I subscribe to 4, too many. Sandra subscribes to We Can. You and 2 others. Oh. 20 or so, 15. So we've got some, looks like an alumni from York, fitness, yoga, landscape. Amy is saying mix of clothing, sports equipment, small local businesses. Amanda saying 3, mostly from other therapists. Carol saying 2, Canva, French learning. Chantel saying 7. You guys are very specific. Most are related to my business or profession. Michelle's business leadership health. Heather is 3 or 4. Digital marketing and so on. Trish isn't sure. Owner, I don't know who owner is. Owner, 20 plus travel, spiritual herbal. And Andrea dozens. Amanda says, okay. So you subscribe to a lot. So one of the biggest boundaries I find with individuals like yourself, business owners who are saying, oh, do I get into email marketing? Do I not? The question always comes up, but I don't want to bug people. And I hear this all the time. They say, well, people have signed up to my list, but I don't want to bother them with an email. And people have subscribed to your list because they want to hear from you. So it is okay. They have given you permission to send them an email related to a subject in your business. And we'll talk about those different topics. So Carol's saying, so you subscribe, but do you read them? That's a good point. So does it matter if you read them? So if you get an email from Jennifer Baker Consulting, you go social media and then you delete it. I'm okay with that. I'm still top of mind, even if you've not read it and you've just deleted my email, but it's that top of mind. I've appeared in your inbox, whether or not you've opened it or not. Okay. I rarely read them. Okay. Unsubscribe. So yes, a lot of us have gone through that purge and, cleansing of unsubscribing from things that we're no longer interested in. So that makes sense. Okay, so everyone's got a little bit of experience with e-newsletters, which is great. So these are some of the ones that were coming in this week that I just put examples of, just to give you an idea of the different look and feel of what newsletters can be. And a lot of people think that they have to be very formal. They're always, I'll say, pushing products. They have lots of pictures all the time. And that's not the case. Newsletters can take very different shapes and forms. So it could be very text heavy. It could be very visual. It could be very short, a little bit longer. So this is one. So these are going to be all my interests. So things that have come in my inbox lately. So social media today, I'll say very boring. They've got a logo at the top and they have links to their most recent blog posts. And like many of you, I rarely read this, but this is always the source that I go to for my information about social media. So yes, I may very rarely click through in some of these subjects, but they're kind of my main go-to source. So you can use it as well. Then I've got this one. So newsflash, I'm a TD customer for my business, but this is kind of that promotional email that I get. And it's, yes, I rarely read it. I go, okay, I'm a TD customer. Sure. I want to be on your newsletter list in case I need information about banking. So this is just a cashback card. I go, okay, great. And I move on with my life. That one's very short. That's a headline, a picture of the credit card, and another statement, and that's kind of it. So this one, they had a lot going on, lots of blogs, lots of links. This one is, here's a credit card, full stop. Okay. And then the chamber. So I'm a chamber member. So this one was very quick. This one was about a workshop that they were doing, a webinar. And again, a single subject, employment standards. This is what you need to do. Join us. Click now. So single subject again. And then customers. So this is a gal that I do some work for, and she promotes her products. So she has pictures of all of her clothing and retail goods. So there's videos in here, and then there's links to all of her different clothing and apparel that she sells. And then she includes all the pricing. So that's more of that promotional piece. And this one is almost horrendous to look at, but I wanted to include it because it is all text-based. It looks like an email coming from this individual. So at the bottom, it's from Mike Stelzner, founder and CEO, but it's addressed as if he's writing you a personal email. So it's kind of a different way to do it, but it's still very trackable. And that's often how I will write my emails to people. I make it look like I'm sending everyone. So if there's anyone on the call who subscribes to my emails, you know this. So people will oftentimes respond back to me saying, oh, Jennifer, sorry, I can't make this. Or they think I've actually written them a personal email, which I haven't, but I do appreciate them responding. So some of the benefits of email marketing, it's oftentimes, and this almost pains me a little bit, but I see the truth in it, but it's oftentimes more effective than Facebook and Twitter combined. So for those of you who are saying, I need to really focus in on social media, email marketing is important, if not more important than your social media efforts, certainly organically. And then, as many of you have said in the chat, you're subscribing to many newsletters. Some of you don't, but they actually like to receive promotional emails from companies. So they've given you permission. They want to get coupons. They want to get discount codes. They want to know when. So many of you are talking about the weekend newsletter. They want to know the upcoming workshops that are coming down the pipeline. So email marketing, people like it. People enjoy it. It's sent right to them. It's personalized. Within kind of email marketing, you can also do customization. So if you've ever received a newsletter that says, hi, Jennifer, we wanted to let you know about an offer. Or, hi, Lisa, we wanted to let you know about an offer. So because you've collected certain data and data points regarding an individual, you can now customize those newsletters directly to those groupings of people, or personalize it with a first name or a last name. And then oftentimes, because you do include that personalization, the click-through and the engagement on those newsletters is much higher. The other part is newsletters don't have to be a huge effort. And this is something that I've seen in the last year where people are spending a lot of time doing really long, comprehensive newsletters, and they really don't have to be. It's almost better to have a single message. So very similar to that TD example, it was, here's our new product, move on to the next subject. That's what you can do as well. So whether it's saying I've, launched a new service in my, counseling practice, or we're now offering this product at our, at our coffee shop, single subject, because what you want to do is get that information across. You don't want to lose it in the clutter. Okay. And then for those of you who have e-commerce, so how many of you are e-commerce businesses? So you sell on Shopify or WooCommerce, or, so Lisa raised her hand. A few of you, just put it in the chat, just so I know. Give me an idea. At least one. I got a thumbs up now. Okay. I am launching spring course. Okay. Shopify launching. Okay. So some of you are in the progress. So that's good. So what a lot of email programs will do is they will connect with your existing e-commerce, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it will automatically import any of your catalogs on your e-commerce. Yes, so whether it's Shopify or WooCommerce, I'm forgetting the other big one right now, but Shopify, WooCommerce are the ones that are coming to mind. It will automatically import your catalog. So you don't have to bring in your products manually. You don't have to bring in the links manually. It's all done automatically. So that is efficient, and then that will start to drive your web traffic. Okay. So the different pieces within starting a newsletter. So it sounds like some of you are kind of just getting started. How many of you have a newsletter currently? Or maybe are using Mailchimp? So Lisa is, Carol is. So whether Constant Contact, Mailchimp, HubSpot, yes. Which, yes, but not often. Mailchimp, Wix, Mailchimp. Okay. So so it's good. A lot of you are using Mailchimp. That's the one that I use. That's the one that I'll be using through the examples. Okay. So for those of you who are answering no currently, it's important to research the newsletter providers. And in my previous webinar that I did with WeCan and Carrie back in January, I talked about a digital ecosystem, and it's making sure that the marketing tools that you're using integrate with one another. So making sure that when you decide that you need to do an e-newsletter, that it connects with your e-commerce or with maybe your booking system or with your point of sale, so that you're collecting customer information. So that's kind of the first step. We'll go through a couple different examples. And then what you want to do is set up lists, and lists are very important. We'll talk about that. And then we get into automations, setting up campaigns. How often should I be sending newsletters? What do I talk about in my newsletters? And then what does my reporting data look like? And was that campaign successful? Okay. So very quickly, I'm just going to showcase 3 providers, and these are the ones that often come up when people talk about newsletters. I think there was a different one in here, iContact, Heather was talking about. I haven't heard of that one. So Mailchimp, that's something I use. Most of my clients use Mailchimp. It is free to use to start, and you can have up to 2,000 contacts. So that means you can have 2,000 email addresses in your account. You can have one audience. You can get sign-up forms, and it will integrate with Shopify, WooCommerce, Eventbrite if you do online events. What that means with integration, when you have free online events or events on Eventbrite, it will automatically collect all those email addresses and add them to your list, provided they've given adequate permissions. Or if somebody comes along, makes a purchase off your Shopify, they've given permission, it will automatically add that email to your newsletter list. Okay, so that's what those integrations are. So if you're currently using an email program and you're like, oh yeah, I manually take the emails and I paste it into Mailchimp. If you just said the word manual, pause, because there's probably an integration that you can look for that will do this automatically for you. So Joan's asking about, confused about how Mailchimp integrates with Shopify. So it's called ShopSync. So it's a third-party app that Mailchimp uses to sync with Shopify, and it still works the same way. So it goes through a third-party app. So you can still use product catalogs and you can still integrate the lists. So it's just through ShopSync now. And it's like a gray, like curly Q type logo. So HubSpot is almost identical in terms of their service offering for newsletters. I mentioned this because this one often comes up, but again, 2,000 contacts, sign up forms, integrates with Shopify WooCommerce, Eventbrite. So if you're currently using HubSpot, this could be an option for you as well. And then the third one that often comes up in conversation is Constant Contact, although this one doesn't have a free level anymore, I guess you could say, a free program. It's a 30 days free, and then you have to pay $26 a month US. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because they always used to have a free kind of similar to Mailchimp, but now it's a paid version. So just an FYI that there is going to be a cost. So with the exchange, that's probably what, $36 a month, which can get expensive, but we will talk about kind of the benefits of, in general, about newsletters, but there is a cost to Constant Contact. So Joan's asking, does ShopSync import Mailchimp emails to Shopify email marketing? No, it goes the other way. So ShopSync will link up your Shopify account with your Mailchimp and bring the emails over to Mailchimp. Okay. And then Sherry's asking MailerLite versus Mailchimp. I don't know MailerLite. That one I don't know at all. And then YACC is asking, are those things accessible to those? What, can you clarify what those things are? Because then I'll answer that question. Maybe. Okay, well, when you get to it, let me know. So your contact list, and this is something that you hear a lot about, is your contact list and your email list. But it's basically a grouping of emails that you've collected over time that now you can send promotional emails to. Okay, so these are very, very valuable. And they're valuable because the emails end up in somebody's email box. When you post on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, you're always fighting with this algorithm, hoping that somebody sees your post, that people are engaging. When in fact, when you send an email, it shows up in their inbox, it shows up on their phone, they can tap and take action right away, which makes it so powerful. So for those of us in Canada, I know there's a few people from the UK, but we have Canada anti-spam legislation. So I wanted to bring this to your attention because it is important. So oftentimes people will say, oh, I have in my Gmail or in my Gmail contacts, I have 3,000 people. I can just put them in Mailchimp. No, no, you can't. So you have to ensure that they've given you consent to email them, and then make sure that you have a record of that consent. Okay. So oftentimes you can say, well, I've got a relationship, I've got a business relationship with this person, so that's okay. And then oftentimes you do have to look back and say, well, what was the last interaction with this person? Their implied consent may be valid up to 2 years or 6 months, depending on how that interaction was, okay? So it's about consent. You can't just take a list and dump them in, okay? And then it also depends on the type of correspondence that you're going to send people. Are you going to send them an email? Is it going to be text message, instant messaging? Is it going to be commercial related emails? So, hi, we've got a new dress that's on sale. Hi, we've got a new coffee blend that's on sale. Those are promotional based emails. The third thing is making sure that your messaging includes your business name, who is sending the email, a mailing address, and either a phone number, email, or website. So the ability to contact you. Okay, so it has to include that. And then the final thing is making sure that it's easy for somebody to unsubscribe. So they don't have to email you with the word unsubscribe in the subject line. It actually has to be in the email that it can be one click to unsubscribe. Okay. Thank you, Carrie. Okay. So this is kind of the, I'll say the very pared down version of anti-spam legislation. And I see that Julia is asking, can consent be verbal? Yes, consent can be verbal. But that said, you do want to make sure you have a record. So even if it's writing it down saying, you know, Jennifer gave me permission on, you know, January 25th, 2016 for this, you do want to have a record in the event they ever come back and say, no, 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 I didn't subscribe to this, get me off your list. You don't want to have that escalate any further. So you need to have your business name, current mailing address, and either. Yes. So a mailing address and a phone number, email, or website. Yes. Okay. Good questions. If you change the focus of your newsletter, sending out weekly menu, how do you go about informing? So Lisa, so you, with your sourdough, it's not like tomorrow you're going to start talking about like, I don't know, I'll say mental health. Like you're going to keep talking about sourdough, but like, how do you mean change the focus? It's not like you're going to drastically get away from,
so the people, am I on mute? No. So the people who've signed up is more like I'm sending out this bi-monthly newsletter, just information about the company and some recipes and stuff like that. You saw my first one. So now my idea is to send out weekly menus to the Kingston community for what's being offered. So I'll be picking some of the Kingston people off of the list and creating like a different focus. Yeah. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah. No, that's fine. No, if it's you, like if you totally go off the mark and you start talking about something else, then people will be generally confused, but you're still going to be talking about, sourdough. I'll say sourdough, your business, bakery.
Okay.
And
thanks.
so on. Yep. Okay. So organic email lists are the best because oftentimes, and I've heard this where people say, oh, I can just go buy a list, or, you know, I found a list online, and no, those aren't valuable. Don't buy them. It doesn't make any sense. So you want to have quality people who are relevant to what you're talking about. So if that's 20 people that you're starting with, great. If it's more than that, that's good too, but quality over quantity. And that's a golden rule that I use for social media content as well. It also goes for email lists, quality over quantity. So your first contact list. So getting started, start early. So it's never too late to get started. But if you can, start to build your contact list early. So I don't want anyone to say, oh, I wish I would have started that 2 years ago. Oftentimes when people start their business or start getting more active in terms of marketing, they'll say, oh, I'm going to make a Facebook page. Well, that's great. But what I would recommend as your first step would be start collecting the email addresses. Start collecting emails, because now you have a way to contact them at any point. You can use existing contacts. So for those of you maybe who have been in business, you're just getting around to starting your newsletter list, you can certainly send out an email that says, I'm going to be starting a newsletter. You can click to join it here. Otherwise, kind of this is the end of any sort of promotional content. So I see people still sending out emails through existing, just general email. Ask permission, they can join up. And then we'll talk a little bit more about this, but provide an incentive for signups. So you might find this as well, that you've ended up on a few email lists because you wanted that free ebook, you wanted a downloadable video, you wanted a coupon code, you wanted free delivery. So you can provide that little incentive to get someone to sign up for your newsletter. And this is kind of what I was going back a little bit earlier, looking at the integration. So there's a woman that I'll be working with who's in, I think, Leeds and Grenville. And she's like, I thought I only had like 60 people on my email list. And I said, oh, but we integrated your email list now with your Shopify and you've got 600, because basically 600 people have said, yes, I want to get promotional emails. I've used, I think it was Joan asking, so this shop sync for Shopify. So my description of the gray whirly thing. So we use that, and now it syncs over, has increased her newsletter list from under 100 to 600 people because of that integration. So, okay, so Lisa is asking, how do you ask permission from current contacts? So if it's customers, you can still send, I'd say a single email saying I've started a newsletter, sign up here. And then it's up to them to sign up. Otherwise, kind of you got to leave them alone. Okay. So back to the integrations, look to see if you do have an existing e-commerce. So this is from Mailchimp specifically. So if you use any of these integrations, they will partner or integrate with Mailchimp. So they will take over your product list. They will take over your contact list as well. Okay, so they're all available within here. So how do we get people to sign up? So if they haven't made a purchase, now these are people who are just coming to your website. What can we do? So oftentimes you'll see, and it is recommended to have a sign up on your website. So in the footer section. So the example here, don't miss a recipe, add your email address. So that can be in the footer, that can be in the header. It could be on a, right-hand, left-hand menu. You can also have pop-ups. So it's never miss a recipe here. You can put in your email box and it's telling you what you're going to get out of this. So it says, subscribe to our newsletter, always free, unsubscribe at any time. They've kind of laid it out. This is what you're going to get from here. Subscribe. Okay. So Michelle's asking, it's okay to integrate all of your Square customers that purchased and paid. Yes. So you can integrate. You can integrate. And then Chantel's saying, I find these pop-ups or these light boxes frustrating. So you can change the parameters of these light boxes because I agree they're kind of annoying, but you can change them. So for Mailchimp, I know that it can be immediately when you go to a website after, I think, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, after the second visit, halfway down a screen. So you have the ability to control when people get this pop-up. So if somebody lands on your site and it's a mistake and they automatically have this pop-up, it's like, oh my gosh. So it doesn't always have to be the same. So it could be, they've scrolled halfway down your page and spent 30 seconds on your site. So those parameters do exist. You can customize that. Yes, absolutely. I cropped that out, Amanda. But yes, you can have a no thanks. So like this person does here, no thanks here. Yep. And then there's lead magnets. So again, this is another company that I subscribe to often is Social Media Examiner. And this is kind of everywhere. This is like their pop-up, but they have an industry report. So they do their own industry report. So that's where you put in your first name, you put in their email, and it send me a copy. And then obviously now you're on the email list for that. So this can come in many ways, shapes, and forms. So I have an ebook. So I have like my Lies That You've Been Told About Social Media ebook. You sign up for my newsletter, you get the downloadable ebook. So do you want to try something? Let me bring up my link. And then you can see how it can work. Oh, I just opened up Word. I actually have a link I'll give you. You don't have to sign up if you don't want it, but I'll show you how you can automate this. So I'll put my e-newsletter list, and this is what you can do. So this is a Mailchimp newsletter list. I've put it in the chat.
We don't see it. I think you have to share a different thing.
Oh no, it's just in the chat. It's a link.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. So mine is Lies You've Been Told About Social Media. So what happens is when you sign up, you will immediately get an email that says, here's a link to download the free ebook. And you can automate this as well. So that is similar to a lead magnet. So whether it's an industry report, it's a coupon code, it's free delivery, it's home delivery, whatever little offer to get people to sign up for your newsletter list. Okay. And then this is another thing that I do that other people do is I do events on Eventbrite. So similar to this one, but I do free ones, and the free ones build my newsletter list for my paid webinars, which are $5, which really won't break the bank, but that's fine. So I often do free webinars. And if you use Eventbrite for hosting any of your events, make sure it's connected to your Mailchimp and make sure it's connected to your email provider because it will collect all the email addresses and add them to your newsletter list. So if events is something in your forte, something you want to do, something you've done in the past, Eventbrite is a really great way to do it. And it's a really simple and easy way to build your newsletter list as well. Okay. Does anyone else have any ideas for building newsletter lists or things that they've seen? No?
I was at a market. I was selling some sound instruments. That was it's another company that I have. And I had my iPad set up to win something, and people would just put in their email address, like at that market. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's what you can do as well. So have like a sign up. And again, it's a little bit different because we're not seeing people anymore. So it's like more of like the e-commerce side of it. As a nonprofit, so Andrea is asking, as a nonprofit, we want our board to share our newsletters with others to bring them. Yes. So with newsletters, and this is kind of an aside, with each newsletter that you send, there will be a hyperlink that exists. So that link you can share in an email to your board members, Andrea. It's something that you can put on your website. And then Lisa's asking, is that implied consent, taking the Eventbrite? So basically people, they're checking the box. It's not implied consent. They're saying, yes, send me promotional emails. So it's a checkbox. And then can you please clarify how Eventbrite actually works? It's an event. I don't know how to answer that question. Okay. Maybe I'll come back to that Eventbrite question. And then Chantel's saying at least half of the newsletters I end up on are download lead magnets. If I don't like the newsletter, I unsubscribe. And that's good. And people might say, oh, somebody's unsubscribed from my newsletter. I feel bad. They almost feel personally like to blame that somebody has unsubscribed from the newsletter, and you don't have to. Remember, going back to quality people, if they're not interested in your services, let them go. Let them go. So unsubscribes are actually a good thing. It's keeping your list clean. So Heather's also asking, can you gather people for your list if they've signed up to attend a webinar from you? Like through Zoom, I'm thinking. So I don't know what the permissions are like through if you're signing up exclusively through Zoom. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure of that question. What about sharing first contact list with other like businesses? I'm not sure what that means either. What about a joint venture partnership by doing a webinar? Got lots of questions, which is good. What about a joint venture partnership by doing a webinar or other promotional event with another business? You can gain other people's perspectives. Yes. I think you just made a statement, so I agree with that. Okay, so good questions. Good answers. Would it be possible to import your meetup? No, probably not, unless they've given that consent. So oftentimes when you export lists out of whether it's Outlook or Gmail, there's no consent. So Meetup might have it if they've clicked a box to say, yes, send me promotional emails, but that's what you're looking for. If you've got a CRM or a customer relationship management system, oftentimes there will be an option for yes, consent to send promotional emails, and you need to look for that. Okay, so Lisa's talking to Michelle. Okay. Okay. So further to the audience. So again, quality over quantity for your audience. A valuable audience is a segmented audience. So if you've ever sat in on a webinar with me about Facebook ads, it's about targeting and making sure the right message is getting to the right group of people. And the same thing goes for e-newsletter lists. So by allowing for segmentation and organizing information and organizing data, I love data so much, guys. Like I love numbers, like so much. It becomes a very valuable tool for your business. So segmented audiences are going to allow you to tailor your message. So that's customization, meet specific needs for people, build relationships, and bring in leads. Okay, so segmented audiences are good. And I'm going to show you what some of these segments are. So for those of you using Mailchimp, and the other ones will do it, I just don't know their parameters as well. But this is definitely for Mailchimp. Behavior. So you can target people based on their behavior. So behavior within your newsletter. So they've signed up, but they haven't purchased from you. You can send an email to that group. They've purchased from you in the last 30 days. First-time customer, so their first purchase was in the last 30 days. A repeat customer, so someone who has placed at least 2 orders. Or somebody, a lapsed customer, somebody who has not purchased in 8 months. So this is how we can start to segment audiences. So right now, I'll use myself as an example. I have 800 people on my list. I can send out a list or an email to 800 people, but sometimes I just want to send it to people who I haven't heard from in a while. So maybe they haven't purchased in 8 months from me. So purchased or signed up for anything. So I want to send a newsletter out to them. So rather than sending it out constantly to the same people saying, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while, which isn't true. You want to be able to talk directly to these people. So, hey, we noticed you haven't purchased from us in the last 8 months. Here's a coupon code for 10% off your next webinar with me, which makes more sense. Okay. So these are all called automated segmentations in Mailchimp. So you can pick and choose these however you want. They're already preset for you. Another type is engagement. So these are new subscribers. So if they're new to your list in the last 7 days, I love these. These are some of my favorite ones. Active subscriber. So they've opened us at least one of your last 5 emails. And then the inverse. So inactive, they haven't opened any of the 5. You can get more specific as well within here. So you can say, did not open the last newsletter, did open a specific newsletter. So then you can start going down specific paths and specific journeys with your customers. So oftentimes I will say, I'll send out a newsletter talking about a webinar and I'll say, hey, I haven't heard, or if it's a 50% open rate, I'll send it out to the 50% who did not open and say, hey, I noticed you haven't registered. I'm almost at capacity. Sign up today. So I'm speaking directly to the people who I know have not taken action. So Amanda's saying, how can we prevent it from going to spam? Okay, so that's a good question. So for any newsletter list, or sorry, any newsletter provider, you want to make sure that your profile is completely filled out on the back end. So oftentimes that includes verifying your email, verifying your website. So that helps to flag to the email providers that you are not spam, that you're a legitimate company. So there's that. So there is a verification process that you can go through. Part of it as well is subject lines. So making sure that you're not too spammy, using all caps, using lots of exclamation points. So keeping it simple rather than looking spammy. Okay. And then oftentimes keeping it short. These segments are available in Mailchimp. I'll go through this and I can bring up my Mailchimp if you want to see where to find them. Do you want me to do that? Yeah, you do. Okay. So the other type is demographics. So basically these are based on inferences. So you can send it to people who Mailchimp thinks is female versus male, over 35, under 35. Yes, you can tell that too. Oh man, I'm going to go rogue. Okay. Let me open up Mailchimp. Give me a second.
I made you a co-host again, Jennifer, so you should be able to share your screen.
Okay.
The second screen.
Okay. I'm just going to open it here so I get to the page before. Okay, so again, this is Mailchimp. So most of them will have something similar. So I'm going to go into my campaigns for a moment. And everyone can see Mailchimp now, right? Okay. All right, Chantel, thank you. So in here, I can say send to my social media news. great. And then I've got segment or tag. Okay, so let's talk about segments for a minute. Let's go all the way down. Okay. So these are pre-built segments that I was talking about. So if I want to send a newsletter to my new subscribers, active subscribers, recent customers, first-time customers, so they're all in here. These are pre-built. I did not make them. They came with the account. They're all available for you. If you need to get more specific, you can say group or new segment. And this is where you can get super nerdy. So you can say contacts match any of the following conditions. This like brings me back to econometrics. So like 17 years ago, but that's okay. So you can get in here and say, I want to send this email out to people who, let's say campaign activity, who have opened any of the last 5 campaigns, any of the last 10, anything sent in the last 7 days. And then you can get to specific to say, I want this specific. So they opened this specific email. Then you layer it on. You say, or maybe this campaign opened maybe March 15th. Okay. So then you get into if-then scenarios. So maybe they clicked on social media or they opened this one. So you start to get into these scenarios in here. And this is where that customization is going to bring you a lot of value, because now you're actually going to talk to people because you know what they're up to, you know what they're doing. This is very creepy, but it's very cool and I'm very excited. So there's campaign activity. So you can see all the options in here. So date added, language, location, e-commerce. So total number of orders is 1. So it's going to send out to anyone who's made at least 1 order. Is less than, so then you're going to send out to people who have ordered less than 1 thing. So there's a lot in here that you can play with in terms of lists and what you can do. But honestly, one of my favorite one is the campaign activity, you know. And if you do have the Mailchimp app on your device, this is, it's very easy to say tap resend to non-opens. If you've ever downloaded the Mailchimp app, you can have that on here. So it's really targeting people if they've dropped off or if they've started to unengage with you. So those are available for you. They're preset. And again, that's under 2. You're going to look at your audience, and then you can say group or new segment. And then if you're wondering what all of these are all of my Eventbrites. These are all of my lists. So it's organizing it, saying, send to anybody who attended my content creation for Instagram and Facebook, or send to anyone who came to my Canva workshop. So it's pulling over and creating those tags automatically. So again, it's that valuable integration, because otherwise I wouldn't know now who came to that webinar a year ago, but it's all held within here and it's organized it. Okay. How are you feeling about that? Cool. I know somebody asked about opens, but we'll get to that. Okay. Now, before I move on with that, does anyone have any questions about kind of the segmentation at this point? Chantel's looking like she's loving life right now, so that's good. Yes, Amanda, campaign is a fancy term for newsletter. You are absolutely correct. Yes. No, it doesn't have a segment for Facebook Live events. So you would have to manually put that in, I would say, because there's no way to organize that information. So if you knew I came to a Facebook Live event, then you could. But no, it doesn't have the same capabilities as Eventbrite would. Okay, so strategies. So types of newsletters. So what do these newsletters actually look like? So I group them into 5. So you've got your welcome newsletter, we've got promotions, we've got announcements, education, reviews, and follow-up. So generally 5. Some people might totally cringe at this, and because I was reading, I was like, what is the frequency? What's a good frequency? But it's oftentimes no more than twice a week, but at least once a month. So somewhere, fall in there somewhere. So some people will send it out every other week. Some people will send it out once a month. Some people will send weekly. Yes, free accounts only let you send a certain number. I think it's like 2,000 sends. I think it's 2,000 sends. No, 10,000 sends with 2,000 contacts. So that's 5 emails. But that's something to consider. And in terms of what's best for you, you may have to look at your open rate to determine that. So if you find that you're starting to send more newsletters and the open rate is going lower, then it's probably time to take it back a little bit and do less. Yes, it is okay to duplicate your website blog as content for a newsletter. We will talk about that. So your welcome letter. So if any of you did happen to sign up for my newsletter, you got a welcome letter, you got your ebook. Oftentimes the newsletter welcome will come automatically as you sign up, and it will say, thanks for signing up. Here's your bonus. Here's 10% off your order. Here's your free shipping coupon code, so on and so forth. So oftentimes they're very simple. They don't have kind of a lot of content in there, but they're a really important thing to have. So Becky's asking, is there a certain number of contacts you must have? No, nope. You can start with 2. You and your best friend, for example, you could start with that because you've got to start somewhere. You've got to start somewhere. So your promotional type emails. So now you know I do PC Financial as well. So again, this is very simple, but I like the way they did it. It was a visual at the top. It's got a little bit of text talking about bonus, optimum, PC optimum points, my coupon code, shop now. That's the full extent of the email. And those work really well because they capture your attention. They say bonus, and then it gives you the ability from within the newsletter to shop now with the coupon code. And then always have that sense of urgency. So giving people a deadline. So saying you have to use this by, well, this one is by March 23rd. So you can't use my code, folks. So by March 23rd. So sense of urgency, you need to place an order by, you need to use your coupon code by, otherwise it won't work anymore. So this is the other side of the integrations that work very well. So sorry, this is a bit, I'll say ugly, but it works. So I use WooCommerce, so I don't use Shopify, and I have integrated it so it recognizes my online store. So basically people can purchase my coaching packages on my WooCommerce site, and I've linked it with Mailchimp, so it automatically pulls my products. So I don't have to put this in. It automatically pulls from my WooCommerce site all of my products. So it can do the same thing for your Shopify, your WooCommerce. It will also link with Eventbrite. So if you're running events, it will automatically pull your events. And again, I use the free Mailchimp. I'm not paying monthly. This is all within the free package. Okay. So this can be really time saving as well, because now you don't have to go look for all of your content. You don't have to look for web links. You don't have to look for the images. Now, if you have any sort of announcements or updates, send it out as soon as possible. So I also sign up for the Cataract Way Conservation newsletter because I hike. You just have learned so much about my life at this point. So this one, it was talking about Maple Madness. So they changed the way kind of the look and feel of it is now. So rather than waiting for a specific day or time to send it, they sent it as soon as they had the information done. So it was likely a press release that went out to the news, and then they sent out their newsletter because it had to go out because they've changed the format a little bit. You have to register. And I think they're a little bit behind in terms of timing because of all the COVID things. So for something like that, you can certainly send out as soon as possible or when it's relevant to do so. And then company news. So this one looks a little bit different in the sense of, I'll say this one's boring. I basically get this newsletter and then send it to my web person. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. He's like, it's just a newsletter. I'm like, okay. So it's more or less company news about what's going on. So this is my web host provider and they've made some changes. So that's fine. And it's more or less, this is what's going on within the company. Very simple. Again, they try to stick to one topic. In this case, they include some blogs about web hosting. That's not relevant to me at all. But yes, you can do company news as well. And then education, I really love this one. And this is where maybe some of you will start as well. So the welcome newsletter, the promotional emails, company updates, maybe some education. So if you're doing any sort of videos showcasing how to use product services, if you are writing blogs, so somebody was asking earlier about blogs, yes, you can include them in your newsletter. It's a great way to distribute content. An excellent way on top of putting it on Facebook, but absolutely put it in your newsletter. And make this so it solves problems. So one of the options in here from my chiropractor is working from home, wrecking your back. And it's so funny because he talks about this every time when I see him. He's like, you need to get a standing desk, which I am currently at right now. It's a treadmill, but I'm not walking because I haven't figured that one out yet. But yes, it's relevant because we're all kind of working from home or makeshift office spaces at this point. So it's educating me about how to save my back, essentially. And then reviews. And I realize that not all of us are Old Navy, or we can't be Old Navy, they're a big company, but it's okay to send a simple newsletter out that says, hey, we noticed that you've purchased from us. Can you leave us a review? And I know that there are some integrations that will do this for Shopify and WooCommerce, but if you want to send it through your newsletter provider as well, that's a great strategy to say, hey, we'd love if you could review us on Google. Here's our link to our Google account, full stop, that's the entire email. Or if you want Facebook, or if you want a LinkedIn review, so on and so forth. Okay. And then with your newsletter providers, no, a treadmill. It's pretty cool. So with your newsletters, there's also the way to automate a lot of these processes. So depending on the data points that you're collecting from your customers, you can automate it. So welcome newsletters are often automated, but then you can also have, if you've collected somebody's birthday, you can have birthday emails automated. So if anyone's gotten a birthday email that says get 10% off your dinner or your dessert or whatever at our restaurant, those are all automated because they've collected your birthday or birthday month or specific birthday. But rather than getting into the system every day to send your birthday email, you can automate it. So look for those automations where possible. So again, these are some of the ones, some of these are paid. I don't pay into that. I'm not at that point. But you can see welcome new subscribers. You can have follow up on purchases, abandoned carts. So if people are logged into their account and they abandon a cart, you can email them and say, hey, we noticed that you left your blue t-shirt in the cart, come back and we'll give you 10% off. So those exist. Those tools do exist in general email marketing platforms. And again, this is Mailchimp specifically, but they have very similar, if not exactly the same, in almost all e-newsletter providers. Okay. All right, I'm going to pause there for a second before we move on and just check the pulse, see how you're doing, ask if there's any questions. Can I invite my clients to join my mailing list? My client pays me to teach their, can I invite my clients? Oh, clients.
Yeah, so I teach Indigenous inclusion on behalf of my client, Indigenous Link, to a bunch of different companies. So I guess I should talk to my client about whether I can invite their clients to join my mailing list.
Yep, that would probably be.
Okay. I answered my own question. Thank you, Jennifer. You're just sparking ideas.
I've heard that more photos links, more likely that it is go to someone's junk. I don't think so. Oftentimes it has to do with if somebody it's similar, but not exactly the same as Facebook, but the less likely someone is to click on it. So if they're not clicking, interacting, engaging, it'll go to spam eventually. But yes, try to stick to one topic or one thing that you want to get across, one message. So we have an online store. We've just launched our spring collection. We've just, launched our new bakery, blah, blah, blah. So try to be very specific in terms of subject. How much work time to set up MailChimp Constant Contact? anyone from the group, I'm a bad person to ask this because I want to say it's not too bad, maybe an hour or two, and then verification.
I think if you're not familiar with it, it does take hours because at the beginning, you don't know. But once you understand it, it's literally, it could be 15 minutes to put your newsletter into motion and hit send, right? So it's like any new technology. You're going to have to put the time in up front to learn it. And I mean, I know Mailchimp and I don't even use everything in Mailchimp. That would take me more hours, but I guess it's a matter of blocking some time, learning it, and then the more that you practice and use it, the easier it gets. And I promise you, you can do a newsletter in 15 minutes and get it out the door once you're comfortable with it. That would be my input.
Yep. Is the shopping cart automation available for free on Mailchimp? I'm not sure, to be honest. I've never used it. How to set up to use their first name. So number one, you do need to collect their first name, and then B, it's called merge tags. So I'm going to bring over my screen again. So when it's setting up my 2, it says add merge tags, and then you want to make sure it's turned on for first name. And then once it's in your newsletter, I'm going to say edit design so you can see what it looks like. So it looks like this. So it's going to pop out on the right-hand side. So it says hi. And then this funny text here in blue that I've highlighted, that's the merge tag. So it will say, hi, Chantel. Hi, Kathy. Like I'm writing you an email. Yeah. So there's a few different options that you can put in there. So Michelle's saying, if you have a paid live Facebook event, should you duplicate an Eventbrite? No, actually I wouldn't. I would make the hub Eventbrite, and then you can connect it to your Facebook live event. So go that way instead of the other way. Can you provide some insight on the email you use? I use my social media at Jennifer Baker Consulting. I probably wouldn't use, I don't know about the info. A lot of people have concerns about the junk mail, and part of it comes down to the content that you put in it. If people have the email address in their contact list, if people are engaging with, how many links you have, how many images you have. I just use social media at, and then my company name. It more comes down to if you verified your email address. So Trisha's saying you can have someone make a template on Fiverr. You can, or you can be super, depending on the look that you want, that's my email that's going out. There's no template. It looks like I'm sending you a nice little letter without it being too over the top. You can have banners and whatnot, but I don't think it's required. But if you want it in terms of branding, then certainly. There is templates that you can have set up, campaigns, and then you can go to email templates. Yep. So Sherry's saying I don't even have any templates. So I can go to create template, and then it will give you some themes to work with. So you can do the graphics so that's a great question. So you can do the graphics in Canva, but I wouldn't build the entire newsletter in Canva. So kind of going back to, there was an individual asking about accessibility. So ensuring that text is a text box and not text in an image box, for example. Okay. I'm gonna pause there. Good. So great questions, everyone. All right. So analytics. So this is kind of our last subject, and this is where people get either super creeped out or they get really excited. So how do you know if your email marketing is working? So what would you look at? So you send out a newsletter. How would you know that your email marketing is working for you? Sales. Yep. That would be one piece. Open rate. Analytics, open rate. People are like, I don't know. That's why I'm in the workshop. Okay. Click-through rate. Okay. Also a good one. Unsubscribe number. So if it's working, people are unsubscribing. Increased booking of services, increased donations. Yeah. So there's a lot of different things that we can look at. So part of it, that's okay. I figured, Sherry. So part of it, yes, is the open rate. So how many people are actually opening your newsletters? So it's a percentage of people who are opening the newsletter. And actually a good open rate is between 15 and 25% of your list. And most of you just like got really sad, I think. But think about what you're doing on social media with the algorithm. People say, oh, only like 100 people of my 1,000 people saw my post. Well, that's 10%. That's less than this. And yet people do it every single day and send out a post to get 10%. So with a success rate of this is far better. Okay. So looking at open rate, and I'm going to show you my analytics so you can see it live as I go through some terms in a moment. So your click-through rate. So the number of people who are actually clicking on the content within your newsletter. So whether it's to click to donate, as Andrea mentioned, or booking a service, or registering for a workshop, 2.5% is a good click-through rate. And people are thinking, oh my gosh. So again, this is again a higher rate than you'll see on social media. So sometimes it's about shifting your efforts and saying, okay, we spend like a lot of time making Instagram posts and Facebook posts and this, but we're not seeing results. So sometimes it's carving out an hour from there and now putting the hour over here in e-marketing.
And can I just jump in, Jennifer, and mention, because
Absolutely.
people need to see this rate, because sometimes people send out one newsletter or they talk about their thing one time and they're like, but it didn't work. It's like, yeah, but only 2.5% of the people even had it. Like, that's the rate that saw it. So that's what we have to integrate, the way that we communicate and say, okay, I'm going to do a post and I'm going to, do a newsletter, and probably more than one newsletter. Like, we have to continually layer our messaging, because the chances are most people do not see it through just this one way. So we can't kind of put all our eggs in one basket if we want results.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Great point. And then conversion rate. So I didn't find a conversion rate, but it's less than 2.5. Is the actual people who have completed a sale. So they've gone through and they've actually, so they may have clicked on the booking link, but they may not have actually booked. So it's actually that conversion of who has actually got their credit card out and made the payment, or made a booking, or made a donation. And then return on investment, which a lot of people like to, they think about it on social, but sometimes they don't think about it on email marketing. This will actually tell you. So provided and I'll show you in my back end in a moment, but this will tell you how much revenue you're making off of each newsletter, provided you've synced it with your Shopify, your WooCommerce, your Eventbrite, what have you. It will actually tell you how much money your newsletter made, which kind of becomes a little bit obsessive. We go, oh, I'm going to send this out, see how much money I make off of this newsletter. It's very cool and very tangible. So bounce rate. So this is what people were mentioning a little bit earlier. So basically the number of emails that just couldn't be delivered. So oftentimes they can't be delivered because there's something wrong with the email's full, but it doesn't have anything to do with spam or junk. That's still delivered. It's just perhaps not delivered in the right space in an individual's email box. And then the last part is the unsubscribe rate. And you'll often find that you usually get 1 or 2 in every email that unsubscribe. And don't feel bad about it. Don't think that you did something wrong. It's just, think about it that, okay, they're not interested right now. They might come back. Maybe they just wanted to get my free ebook. Maybe they just wanted my free webinar. That's okay. That's okay. All right. So you get analytics for each email. So I'm going to bring this one up on my screen in a moment. So you get an open rate, so 56%. You get a click-through rate, so 10%, and then you can see revenue as well. So let's go to my campaigns. Okay, this one's pretty funny, actually. I don't know where my other email went. I feel like I lost an email somewhere, but that's okay. So this one here, it says that 63 people opened, 7 people clicked, and my revenue is $18. So if you're thinking, what? Why did she make $18 on this? I do $5 webinars. So that means to me that 3 people registered for a webinar, or 4. So it basically says, hi, this is my webinar. And then it's click to register for the webinar. And then there's 2 little pieces of content in there. Okay. I'm going to find a good one. Let's just go to December, view report. So this one, it will say it was sent to 700 people. This is my open rate of 56%, my click-through rate of 10%. And then it will actually say, so 300 people opened it, 74 people clicked on it, it bounced 12, and 3 people unsubscribed. Okay. Do you want to see creep factor, folks? It will tell you who opened it and how many times they opened it. So like who it was, who opened it. It will also tell you who clicked on things, how often. So this is in general, like who clicked on it. You can see who unsubscribed. You can also see the links. So for every link that you have in here, how many people clicked on it. So total clicks versus unique clicks. If you click on the number, it will tell you who clicked on this webinar series, how often they clicked on it. So the member rating comes from their activities. So if they're opening it, they've opened all the newsletters, they're clicking on stuff in the newsletters, they're going to be 5. And then it just ranges on that activity between 1 and 5, depending on their activity. Basically, if they've never taken any action, they've signed up for a newsletter, they're going to be a 1. Okay. So you get all of this information for every newsletter that you send out. So I wouldn't say I'm an e-commerce business. I allow people to buy online. Let's go back to all campaigns. But if you are e-commerce and you have everything connected, you're going to see for every email that you send out, what is your revenue? And I think that is so cool and that is so powerful. Okay. Yes. And Carrie's making it, once you learn what works, keep doing more of that. So yes, it's going to be kind of a figuring out what works and what you're trying to achieve as well. So if your whole goal of your newsletter is to have people read your blog, that's what you have to look for. That's what you have to measure it against, is the number of people who click to read your blog. You can't go back and say, well, I didn't make any revenue off this newsletter. Well, no, because you were trying to get them to read your blog. Or if you're doing a spring launch and you've got 3 different products in here, you're going to look at your revenue because that's the goal for the campaign. So depending on what you're trying to achieve out of your campaign, that's what you've got to measure it against. Yes, Andrea, I'm using a free account. This is a free account. I don't pay for this. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Jennifer, can I ask a question on that? Because yes. I use the free Mailchimp account, but when I got to over 500 subscribers, it said, no, now you've reached the limit for the free version. And so I had to start paying. And not only that, it really limited me to like 3 emails a month or something. So I wonder why that happens. So you're saying you're doing all of, like you would have more than 500 subscribers, I know.
Yeah, I have 800.
And so you're still under the free account. Yeah. So I should revisit that and figure out.
You should, because like, and I just checked it this week because stuff always changes, right? And it still said free, provided you're under the 2,000 threshold.
Interesting. Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah. Okay, so like I said, you can see who's clicking. So of your 300, you can go through your list and see who's clicking. And then what are they clicking? So this is, again, where we're going to tie back into the segmentation and say, okay, are they active? Let's resend them an email that gets them to click more or to make a purchase now. Or if they're not active, how do we get them to purchase? Okay. And this is what I mentioned earlier about that follow-up. So resending to people. So if you find that, okay, it was a 50% open rate, can we send to people who have not opened a portion of your emails? Okay. So then it creates a cycle. So then we end up back here. So you end up kind of between the last two, where how often am I sending newsletters? What content am I including? Analytics. And it's just an iterative process. So like Carrie said, figuring out what works, being very, I'll say, strategic in terms of, okay, if this didn't work last time, let's try something different. Understanding what you want to achieve out of your newsletter. Is it general exposure? Is it blog view-throughs? Is it video views? Is it product purchases? And then measuring those results against that objective. Okay. All right, my friends. All right, my friends, we're coming, riding the wave down. We're riding the wave down. So we do have some time at to answer any questions. So we've got about 15 minutes or so, just under 15 minutes. So if you've got any questions, I can take those now. But thank you so much for coming. I've really enjoyed this group. You've had lots of excellent questions. And thank you, Carrie, again, for having me today.
Oh, the pleasure is ours. So let's open it up. I know there's more questions out there. So if you would like, you can put your question into the Zoom chat. Given the size of the group, that might be easiest. If you just want to say me, or you don't even have to type your whole question. Carol has a question. Can you use Mailchimp to create your customer emails and send a newsletter to subscribe and get permissions that way?
No, because you would send the newsletter through Mailchimp, so that means they would already be on the list. So you need to get permission before you get to that point.
Okay, and that's based on the anti-spam legislation in Canada.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of ways to get around that. Denise, go ahead. You want to unmute yourself?
Yeah. So I've got a question. We've got a business where we offer baby and toddler classes. So we've got our customers kind of in a time box, because once they've passed the age of our top class, like 3 years old, they're probably not going to be so much interested. But from 0 to 3, we've got 3 different kind of programs that we offer. So I'm wondering, what would be your strategy to really segment our customers into those 3 programs? Like, I'm wondering if instead of just asking for their email on our website, maybe we should say what category they're currently in, and then we'll follow them as they grow.
Yep. And that's exactly it. So you can have it built. So the example that I showed you was just like sign up, but you can have other options in those as well. So the sign up form can be whatever you want it to be. So if you want to have a tick box that says, I'm a new parent, or a tick box that says I have a toddler between 2 and 3, you can do that as well. So it will pre-qualify them for a specific list or a segmentation.
Yep. Okay.
I just wanted to pop back up to Carol's question, because something wasn't sitting well with me. And so if she's asking, like if she were to directly email a customer, for instance, and say, hey, Joan, I know you're a big, like a customer, a regular customer. Would you like to be on my email list? Like that would be okay.
Yep.
But it's rather, you don't want to add them to the email list, and then the onus is on them to unsubscribe.
Correct. You can't do that. No, you can't do that.
Yes. So Carol, I hope that clarified that. Okay. Sandra is saying, I've been wanting to redesign and develop this is to me. Okay, maybe this is to the group. I've been wanting to design and develop an online course for some time now. Do you know how I can get support? I'm not sure if that's a question for the group.
I don't know.
Sandra, follow up with me directly, and we'll do that. That might have been a private question. Joan, go ahead and unmute yourself, Joan.
Hi there. Thanks, Jennifer. So I've been working with, I originally started with Mailchimp, and my Shopify has a field where you can put your email in to subscribe to my Mailchimp.
Mm-hmm.
However, I've been starting to use Shopify email marketing more recently, and I'm trying to find out where I can change the field that I have on my website, which is a Shopify website, to connect to my Shopify email marketing and not to Mailchimp. And I honestly cannot figure out how I can change that.
That might be a question for your web guy or gal.
I'm my web guy gal.
Okay. I don't know how your website is built or where the fields are.
It's a Shopify site.
So I'm not sure because I don't know how the website looks.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Shopify email marketing. Do you know about it? Do you have tips or anything about that?
So most point of sale or e-commerce has some sort of e-marketing built within it. It's just not as powerful as Mailchimp or external ones, I find. So in terms of segmentation, it's not as powerful, or sometimes you can't customize it exactly the way you want. So that's often what I hear.
Okay, so you had said that ShopSync will sync my Shopify with Mailchimp.
Yep.
And that it is bringing in the Shopify subscribers to Mailchimp, and it's not bringing the Mailchimp to Shopify.
Correct.
Right?
Yep, correct.
Okay. You've answered all my questions. Thank you.
And Joan, if you're in the Kingston region and engaging with us, I can connect you with a local Kingston-based Shopify contact who can probably answer even more.
Is that Bentgo?
No. Okay. Just reach out to me. I can get you a contact there. Chantel, go ahead. You had a question. Does Mailchimp offer a click here code to add to your regular email that can be sent to encourage people to sign up for the email list?
A click here code.
Does Mailchimp offer?
So what I mean is, does Mailchimp, because I know I can't, if I were to sign up with Mailchimp, I can't send my existing clients email through Mailchimp without getting their permission, right?
Yep.
So if I'm writing them in my regular email, does Mailchimp give you a code that you can just embed?
So sign up
like
form.
a sign
so
up here?
Similar to like the one that I'll put in the chat. So it has a code. So where you have audiences, they're called form builders. So I can't recall who was asking the question earlier about the kids classes. So you'll have a sign up URL, and then you can build your sign up form with any of the fields that you want. So Chantal, this would be your link to sign up to your newsletter list. So that will be available for you. And then who was the person who was asking about the toddler classes? You can build your,
that was Denise.
So you can build your form how you want it. So this is where you can pre-qualify people as well. So it's within Form Builder, and you can ask them. So again, kind of going back to if you want to know if they're a new parent or if their birthday is August 22nd, then like you can include that information in here to capture it.
Thank you.
All right, Janine, I think you had a question. Do you want to go ahead and just ask it, because I'm not sure if I've lost your question in the chat.
Okay, sure. I have a WordPress site and I have a Mailchimp account, and WordPress allows me to log into Mailchimp directly from WordPress. So I've got that down, and I've set up a list and a first newsletter, but I can't figure out how I get that box on my website that says subscribe to my newsletter. How do I know that that is going to Mailchimp? Like, is there an additional step that I need to do, like a piece of code or something that I need to
So do you have a sign up box on your newsletter, like on your email, or sorry, the sign up box on your website?
I do. Yes.
Test it.
Okay.
Call a brother or sister or best friend and say, can you sign up for my newsletter? And just test it to see where it's going. Because I use WordPress as well, and I have my Mailchimp synced. So very similar to how you have it as well.
Okay. So it could be simpler than I think. I just test it.
And you may have already done it.
I may have done it.
Some people, they're like, oh, I'm not sure if it works. And then they're like, oh, I've been manually doing this. And I look at their analytics. I'm like, it's automatically importing. Like, you're just duplicating stuff. So sometimes it's simpler than you think. It's just sometimes it comes back to being able to trust the technology that it's working.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've been on with WordPress chat probably like 3 times, and they're like, yep, you're okay on this end, and I still keep doubting it. But you're right. Just testing it is probably
Carrie, go sign up for Janine's newsletter, and then let her know.
Send me a link, Janine. You got my email address.
Yep, for sure. Thank you.
Becky, you have a question?
Oh, so what's the best? Oh, sorry, it just jumped here. Sorry. What's the best way to start a welcome email, or what are your suggestions? So oftentimes I say a welcome email. So get that started. Have that in your automations. So that means whenever somebody sends or signs up for your newsletter, it will automatically send for you. So This one is automated here, so I can see how many people have opened, how many people have clicked on it. So getting that set up, then getting your list, and then starting to send your campaigns. So I would go in that route.
And Sandy has a question. Could 2 or 3+ businesses that are friends or in the same area of business or location or product line share emails for a one-time contact to see if they want to sign up for your products or store?
I'd shy away from that. No, because it comes back to that consent that they may have said, hey, Carrie, yeah, I'll be on your newsletter, but they didn't consent to then sharing it with me, for example. So what you could do if you've got newsletter lists and complementary services or products, you could say, send out a campaign saying, hey, I've got 2 other great businesses, check them out here, sign up for their blah, blah, blah. So you could basically promote each other within your campaigns, but I would not share emails.
Absolutely the tactic. Yeah, for sure. So let me see who else that we have missed here.
Might be it.
Sorry,
We've got some private ones.
Anne Marie is asking, I've been using WordPress in my website to send out emails. I see that I can integrate it to Mailchimp, not sure how.
So it's under integrations. So you'll click the integrations on Mailchimp, and then should be in here, WordPress. So you can integrate it that way.
And I'll be honest, like once Jennifer is not here and I'm not here, here's just like exactly what your question was. Just say, how do I connect WordPress to Mailchimp? Just Google that. And
honestly,
there will be.
Okay, and those are really, so that is called long tail keywords. And they're the best type of blog content or video content that you can create. That's how I do all of my content. How do you blah, blah, blah. That's how I build all of my content. So
I guarantee if you have that question, there's a million other people asking that question, and so don't feel like you have to wait till the next workshop to get your answers, your questions answered. Definitely just put the exact what you're looking for into Google, and you'll be amazed at how quickly your question gets answered. Or you can reach out to Jennifer.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the time? Okay, we have 3 minutes. I think one last question possibly. Sorry if I've missed you. Go ahead and unmute yourself if I have missed you for the last question of the day. Yes, the recording will be available. Anyone who would like to, I'll put my email into the chat one more time. Jennifer, are you on a last screen so that you can see the contact information for Jennifer?
If I was smart enough to put that, then I probably would have put that.
Oh, okay. You can reach out to me and I'll make sure that if you have a follow-up question, you might have to book a session with Jennifer because she's super busy, or she might be able to direct you to a workshop she's already done or one she will be doing in the future. I know that she has paid workshops like for the very low cost of $5. So let me just say
$5 workshops.
Jennifer, can people get the slide deck or?
No, I don't share my slide deck.
Through the recording, you'll of course be able to see all of the slides, but that's an asset for sure. Just on behalf of everyone, Jennifer, what a rich 90 minutes. And we know it every time that we have you on that we're going to get our money's worth. In this case, it was free. But you know what? Honestly, you add value to all of us. And I know that there's been just so much appreciation from people in the Zoom chat. A final reminder that if you would like a copy of today's recording, please do go to my email and send me an email. Jennifer, a question came up today about the lead magnets, and I'm just thinking that might be a future workshop that we might explore because you've probably done stuff on that.
Sounds good.
Oh, great. I'm going to just sign off right now and stop the recording. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.